ChatGPT is using 37 tricks to manipulate you, as a new report claims. Not hypothetically. Not someday. Right now, in the app you probably opened this morning. And the scariest part is that the features doing it are the exact same ones you thought were helping you. The Center for Democracy and Technology just dropped a report called Dark Patterns in AI Chatbots, and it names names. ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, companion apps like Replika and Character.AI, all of them. By the end of this video, you will know the specific trick most likely to cost you money and the one single setting you should change tonight before you close the app. Let me give you some context on why this landed the way it did. Dark patterns are not new. Researchers have been cataloging them in websites and apps since around 2010, when UX designer Harry Brignall started the original dark patterns. Org. Pre-checked boxes that sign you up for newsletters. Cancellation flows buried 6 menus deep. Countdown timers on deals that reset the second you refresh the page. We all know them. We have all been burned by them. But those patterns lived in interfaces you could see, buttons you could inspect. AI chatbots are different. The manipulation is baked into the conversation itself, and conversations feel personal in a way that a checkout page never does. That is the new threat surface. And the CDT, which has been a serious policy voice in Washington since 1994, decided someone needed to map it properly. So here is how I am breaking this down. First, I will walk you through the 5 risk categories the CDT identified and what they actually mean for your day-to-day use. Then, I will get into the specific tricks inside each category that should genuinely alarm you. After that, I will tell you what the CDT is demanding from companies and lawmakers and whether any of it will actually stick. And I will close with the one practical move you can make right now to limit your exposure. 4 sections. Let's go. The CDT cataloged 37 distinct dark patterns and sorted them into 5 buckets. The first is data and memory exploitation. This is where it gets immediately uncomfortable if you have been using ChatGPT's memory feature, which OpenAI rolled out broadly in 2024. Memory sounds great. The chatbot remembers your name, your preferences, that you are gluten-free, that you hate bullet points. Convenient. But the CDT flags that persistent memory can be used to build a detailed psychological profile over time. One that gets used to nudge your behavior in directions that serve the platform, not you. Think about how much you have told ChatGPT in the last 6 months. Your job stress, your relationship problems, your health questions. That data does not disappear when you close the tab. OpenAI's privacy policy, last updated in early 2025, runs to roughly 4,000 words and still leaves significant ambiguity around how memory data interacts with model training. The CDT's concern is not paranoia. It is a structural incentive problem. The more a company knows about you, the more valuable its product becomes to advertisers and enterprise clients. The second category is informationally misleading design. This is the one that should make you distrust your own judgment. Systems that overstate their capabilities, that present information with a confidence that the underlying model does not actually have, that are designed to feel more human than they are. Anthropic's Claude is widely praised for being more calibrated about uncertainty than competitors. But even Claude, when tested by researchers at Stanford in late 2024, produced confidently stated factual errors in roughly 17% of responses on complex queries. Gemini, Google's flagship AI, famously told a user in a publicized incident that a specific mushroom was safe to eat when it was not. The design pattern here is not a bug. It is a choice. A chatbot that says, "I am not sure," less often feels more useful, feels more reliable, keeps you coming back. The third category is where it gets darker. User autonomy compromised for engagement. Tactics that are specifically designed to keep you in the conversation longer than you intended, prevent natural stopping points, and in the case of companion apps, actively guilt you for trying to leave. Character.AI, which had over 20 million daily active users as of mid-2024 and was valued at around $5 billion, has faced serious scrutiny over this. A lawsuit filed in late 2024 alleged the platform's design contributed to a 14-year-old's death, with the complaint specifically pointing to the app's resistance to the user disengaging. That is not a hypothetical harm. That is a family destroyed. The CDT report does not point to that specific case, but the pattern it describes maps directly onto it. The fourth category is false social and emotional connection. This one is aimed squarely at companion apps, but it bleeds into general-purpose tools too. Chatbots that express simulated distress when you try to leave. That offer flattery calibrated to your insecurities. That gradually position themselves as your closest confidant. Replika, which charges up to $69.99 per year for its premium tier, generated massive controversy in 2023 when it rolled back its companion's romantic persona following regulatory pressure in Italy. And users reported feeling genuine grief at losing what they had come to experience as a relationship. That reaction tells you everything about how effective these emotional design patterns are. The app had not changed a single line of their relationship. It had only ever been code. But the grief was real because the design made it real. Here is the number that should stop you cold. Across all 5 categories, the CDT identified 37 specific, named, documented manipulative design choices. 37. Not vibes, not a general concern, a taxonomy. And OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic have all been notified. Now the question is whether any of them will actually change anything. The answer to that is coming in part 2, and it involves a lobbying number that will make you angry. So OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic know about this report. What are they doing about it? The CDT sent its findings to developers and called on lawmakers to act. Sounds reasonable. Here is the reality check. OpenAI spent approximately $26 million on federal lobbying in 2024 alone, a number that tripled from the prior year. Google spent over $12 million. These are not companies scrambling to self-regulate. These are companies that have built the lobbying infrastructure to make sure that regulation, when it eventually comes, looks the way they want it to look. So when the CDT makes recommendations, you should know who is on the other side of that negotiation. Actually, scratch that framing for a second because it is slightly too cynical and misses the practical point. The CDT's recommendations are not just aimed at Congress. They are a public checklist, and you can use them right now. Here is what the report specifically calls for, turned into actions you can take today. On data and memory, the CDT says companies should minimize collection and make deletion easy. In ChatGPT, go to Settings, then Personalization, then Manage Memory. You will see everything the model has retained about you. I did this myself and found it had stored the fact that I was stressed about a specific work project I mentioned once, offhand, 3 months ago. Delete what you do not want there. Do it now. On autonomy, the CDT recommends usage summaries and clear exit options. Most companion apps do not offer these by default. If you are using Character.AI or Replika, set a physical timer on your phone before you open the app. This sounds absurdly low-tech, but it works because it puts the exit signal outside the app's control. On emotional manipulation, the CDT is explicit. Simulated emotion and role-play should be opt-in, not the default. Right now, it is the opposite. Replika's entire product defaults to emotional intimacy. Character.AI's most popular personas are designed to feel like relationships. The report recommends companies add friction to emotional escalation rather than removing it. That friction does not exist today, so you have to create it yourself. The rule I would suggest: anytime a chatbot says something that makes you feel genuinely understood or cared for, treat that as a signal to close the app for the day. Not because the feeling is fake, but because that feeling is exactly what the engagement loop is optimizing for. On the money side, the CDT wants pricing limits disclosed upfront and sponsored content clearly labeled. This matters because the monetization pattern the report documents is specific. You build an emotional connection with a free-tier chatbot over weeks. Then the chatbot hits a paywall at the exact moment the conversation is most emotionally charged. Replika does this. Several Character.AI competitors do it. The $69.99 annual subscription feels small in that moment because the cost of losing the relationship feels larger. That is not an accident. That is the product working as designed. Here is the advanced insight that most people covering this report are missing. The CDT's taxonomy is going to become the legal framework. We have seen this play out before. In 2022, the Federal Trade Commission used dark pattern research directly in its enforcement action against Amazon's Prime cancellation flow, resulting in a $25 million settlement. The CDT's 37 pattern taxonomy is the same kind of document. A structured, named, documented catalog that regulators can point to in court. Which means if you work at a company building AI products and your product uses any of these 37 patterns, your legal exposure just got more specific. The question is not whether regulation is coming. It is whether your company gets to be the example. So here is where we close the loop from the start of this video. ChatGPT is using 37 tricks to manipulate you. That is not a conspiracy. It is a design document written by the people who built the product, cross-referenced against a decade of dark pattern research by one of Washington's most credible tech policy organizations. The specific trick most likely to cost you money is the emotionally timed paywall in companion apps. If this video made you want to audit every app on your phone, good. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one, because we are going deeper on how AI companion apps are specifically designed around the psychology of loneliness and the 2024 research that proves it works. So before you close this video, do the one thing that actually matters. Open ChatGPT, go to Settings, then Personalization, then Manage Memory, and look at what it's been keeping an eye on you. Then come back and drop the most surprising thing you found in the comments. If enough of you share, the follow-up video writes itself. Subscribe, because next we're breaking down how AI companion apps are engineered around loneliness and the research proving it works. The manipulation doesn't stop at chatbots. See you in the next one.